Ever since Blizzard got integrated with Microsoft, I kept saying, hey, now the WoW dev team's going to be huge. A whole new pool of resources. We're going to get content so much faster. And we have been getting content faster. The patch cadence has been rapid. We've been getting raids quicker, seasons quicker, a lot more content to do in the game. Have the patches been smooth when they hit? No, that shit's broken as hell. Every time a new patch hits, it breaks the shit out of the game. So that still needs maybe some work in terms of team size. But how big is the development team? Bellular says here, I counted every developer on Midnight, and the numbers don't add up? What is this? All right, let's jump into this and see how big this development team really is, because everybody knows size matters.
If Midnight has anything to prove, it's that WoW is here to stay. Things like player housing, class changes, the whole World Soul saga may only have one more expansion after this, but we even see they're planting lore seeds for years and years to come. That all takes manpower and investment. So today, that's what we'll be talking about.
I'm interested to see these numbers.
We're going to investigate whether Blizzard are actually putting their money where their mouth is. And that's because words are cheap. All this talk of the future is well and good, but they need to follow up.
Right.
To do that, they need a team. And thankfully, I know the perfect way to check. Deep diving into Midnight's credits and charting the changes of the World of Warcraft development team over the years. This one is going to be a roller coaster ride.
Holy crap, that's degenerate as fuck. He fucking checked the credits. He checked the credits on this thing, and then he mapped it all out. Damn. Okay, Bellular deserves some credit here. He put in some work for this video.
So many people playing WoW, it can be hard to stand out, hard to get the perfect mog. It's a bit like that online. Everyone's online, but the question is, do you look pro or do you look forgettable? And today's sponsor, Squarespace, has been shipping serious upgrades to help you in that, and they're worth paying attention to. Here is Finish Layer. It's the kind of new headline feature. It gives you professional grade animations, scroll effects, and transforms. It's the sort of polish that used to require hiring a developer.
Squarespace has a massive YouTube budget.
That is immersive, and it's all built
always
into
advertising
their
on it.
And of course, that's all on top of their blueprint system.
Bellular, check the receipts, yep.
Your own custom template, asking you what pages you need, suggesting fonts that work together, and a color palette that ties it all together. So you get no blank canvas paralysis, you get guided decisions that are based on their 20 years of design experience.
Very nice.
And while you probably know about all their e-commerce stuff, you can actually sell things in person with Squarespace, be it merch, services, whatever. It all works now with tap to pay on iPhone, so you can just accept contactless payments with just your iPhone. No card reader, no extra hardware. And that alone makes Squarespace a hell of a lot more than just a website builder. So
sure does.
You can build your site for free at squarespace.com/BellularGaming.
Use the
and
man's
when you're ready
code.
to set it live, use code BellularGaming, and that'll get you 10% your first purchase.
Mog, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge.
Take a look at this.
Who's
It's a
actually making your
monster
game?
spreadsheet. It has the name and the role of everyone in Midnight's credits. And obviously, we have to talk about the important thing. And that's the return of Chris Metzen to top billing. Yes, the WoW news cycle
That's right.
somehow is able to say every 6 months that in some new way, Chris Metzen has returned. He's returned even more than you thought.
Okay, but he has returned. We all know, yes, and he's making a joke that like, oh, the Metzen returning announcement has been announced like 30 times. The truth is, Metzen returning really didn't make a difference in the War Within. I think he played a little bit with the end of it. I think the Ethereal patch seems like it was shoehorned in to try to get us to Midnight, and he split some shit out. But really, this next expansion, Midnight, is going to be Metzen's first real contribution to the WoW team in his return. So that's why I'm really excited to see how the story plays out, how everything kind of feels. Does it feel more Warcrafty again? We'll see. But yeah, Metzen's return finally is going to yield some fruits for us all to see in Midnight.
At least here we see he's now the first person in the credits. So I guess he's the single most influential person on the project. So there you go. Tough luck, Holly Longdale. You're no longer top billing. That's a little bit of a joke, but I do actually bring this up with a bit of a point. You see, in the War Within, Chris Metzen was a measly number 4. Now he's at the top. That is, I think, a bit of an intentional decision. You'll learn more about why and how the lore feels actually later on in this video, because it is somehow relevant. Of course, he has still got his title of Executive Creator Director, meaning the World of Warcraft is, once again, very much his world. But he sure ain't hopping into WoW Edit to build the whole damn thing himself. So let's talk about the team. This is where it gets fascinating. Midnight has, and I'm not exaggerating.
Jamal says, not sure what Metzen has to do with the World Soul Saga, but with what comes after will have his blueprint on it. I mean, what comes after surely gives him full blown creative, freedom. He could do whatever the hell he wants post World Soul Saga. But the World Soul Saga itself is a Metzen creation. The story was kind of laid out, and we already know this, that the War Within was supposed to really play out the entire story of Azeroth. And don't forget, Metzen planted this whole World Soul storyline before he left, right? He put a sword in the planet, and there's a World Soul and all that shit. That was his thing. And then we fucking dipped and dived through the Shadowlands and all this other weird shit while he was gone. And now he's back, and he was the decision maker behind making this a saga. He thought that just telling the finish of the story that he started back in really what was the planting of the sword, end of Legion timeline, that he just felt like was not going to be able to be told properly in the War Within. So he did split this out to a saga. The saga was his decision, and really the last two expansions in the saga are him finishing out the story the way he thought it should be finished out. The War Within was just an in-betweener. So to say that he has nothing to do with this World Soul Saga, or it's not really his, I think that's not really true. But also to say, yeah, he's going to have full-blown creative freedom post-saga, yeah, he will. But this is his story. He's telling it in a saga series.
A whopping 811 people listed on the credits who have direct day-to-day involvement. So to be clear, that's not the number of entries in the credits, it is the credits then filtered into the people who are actively working on World of Warcraft, or who at least during this expansion's development cycle worked on this expansion. That is a fairly large team size. And for comparison, that's the same amount that The Witcher and Cyberpunk developers have got across all of their upcoming titles. So close to, say, $100 million a year in developer salary.
Yeah.
A little bit mind-blowing, and it does bode well for the future.
Developers. I mean, if you're not going to pay your developers, how you going to? You're going to have a shit product. They are the creators, right? So it is important. What do you like best? What theme do you like best of the patches? Of all the patches we got so far, I mean, I thought the ethereal theme was a nice, break from the underground shit. I didn't really care for the Azkahet and all that stuff, and then the Ruby stuff. It was okay, but it just felt dark after a while. I'd say probably the Nerubian theme. Undermined was fun when it first launched. I thought it was as a Goblin City, it was legitimately, I think, perfectly executed. It did feel like a Goblin City for sure. But I don't care for the Goblin aesthetic that much. So it was cool, again. But I think that of the themes I like the most, that whole ethereal theme and everything else, and going to their home world and all that, I thought that probably was my most favorite theme of this expansion.
But get this, it is not the full story, because Midnight's credits have actually shrank. Yes, this was a shock. The War Within's credits show 853 people. Sadly, then, that means that the game has had, overall, about 5%
layoffs.
Fewer people working on it. Now, obviously, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a whole 42 people.
It's AI. I bet you it's AI shit. Every company's doing this. You drive efficiency through AI, and then you can lay some people off. Unfortunate, but that's probably what's happening at Blizzard, just like all these other corporations are doing.
Imagine what you could do with 42 full-time employees, and now imagine them gone. That's got to sting. And if this video was to have a chart of It's So Over and We're So Back, in saying that, I suppose we're now at the It's So Over part of the video. But it is, of course, a hell of a lot more complicated than just that. Because there's something far more important than the raw number here, and that is the actual roles.
Okay.
While going through the credits, we tagged each role with a specific category, so we can see what team changes are likely to matter. And if I'm honest, I was definitely not expecting the results that we got, because...
Okay, so this is showing the teams that shrank and grew. First things first, right? When I looked at this, testing. This is good. Man, the testing team is huge. What the hell, 126? And it grew by 6 people to 132. I'm looking at this because I feel like this is the thing that Blizzard's been lacking, is like they don't have enough testing. That's why these patches hit, and they just break everything. I think more testing needs to happen, and clearly Blizzard at least thinks that too. I mean, they grew by a little bit. At least the testing team isn't shrinking. That would have been concerning. Support team did shrink, though, by 10. Damn. So that was a team that was hit pretty hard. Leadership shrank by a lot. That's, again, probably AI driving efficiencies at the leadership levels, too. I've seen the same thing in a lot of other corporations where a lot of these bloated salaries of leaders, they're firing leaders and then merging teams under a single leader. I've seen that a lot of places. Second most, engineering. The engineering team shrank quite a bit too. AI efficiency for sure is the reason for that.
Only 3 categories grew between expansions. The design category is everyone actually making either content or visible changes in the game, and it grew by 5 members, 177 to 182. Not a massive change, but still, despite a slightly smaller team, Midnight has got more people actually putting things in the game. The other growing team, then, is testing. That's up by a grand total of 6, and it means that there's now 132 people credited on this WoW expansion in a test role. Now, I know that doesn't really sound right. We haven't had a patch release without issues, pretty much for this entire expansion,
Right.
Yet testing staff actually makes up over 16% of their total headcount.
Wow.
So it turns out that both things can be true. Whatever WoW's core quality assurance issues are, they're probably not money problems. Then the last growing team is the sound team, with 15 people now credited on audio and
they're
music,
great.
up from 13. No big change there, perhaps a few hires and perhaps some churn. But I do have to get
Sound
a little
team
bit
is a good
more
team.
serious here, because the biggest percentage drop was in support. And in this case, that doesn't mean game masters. It means product side roles. This is things like marketing, WoW-specific finance, stuff like that. It's down by 13%, but only losing around 10 staff comparing credit list to credit list. So honestly, not much to say with this one, but the next one definitely does have a lot to say. You see, the category hit hardest in raw numbers, and this shocked me, was actually engineering. They're down by 17 whole engineers this expansion. And looking at it closely, there's no real pattern. Some engineers left, they got new engineers. And if you wanted to start doom posting...
One thing I've seen a lot of that a lot of corporations are doing is, you have natural attrition throughout the year. People leave. It's just natural. People leave, and usually to replace those people, you hire somebody new. What a lot of corporations have been doing to really push their own employees to, we got to drive efficiency through AI is when somebody leaves, they haven't been hiring. Right? Like this whole fucking job market's a bunch of bullshit. A lot of these jobs are just posted because these companies are required to try to post jobs, right? And really what it is even lateral moves happening within a company. I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of time legally, even if there's a lateral move going on in the company, they know they're going to hire from within, they have to post the job. So they're posting jobs that aren't really jobs that are available to people. What's happening is people leave through natural attrition. So these 17 that left could have just been gone. Maybe 10 of the 7 just left out of natural attrition, but then they don't hire anybody. They say, hey, I know the team shrank, but I think you guys can use AI to figure out how to do the shit that, Bob was doing. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I feel like that's the push, the natural push that's going on.
Suppose this would be the time. I mean, a shrinking engineering staff can't be good. They're
as
the most
HR can
expensive
confirm. There you go.
And they're often the ones who keep the whole game from falling apart. Every major advancement in WoW's recent quality of life, from housing to transmog, has been engineering-led. Except, there is one small little thing. Every number in this section has a humongous asterisk. And now it's time that I explain that to you.
Okay, explain the numbers, Bell. Go ahead.
You see, it turns out Blizzard does something unusual with their credits. If someone leaves mid-development, they still get credited. But they get credited with a different title. And that is the thing that is, well, different. Obviously, if you leave a project mid-development, you should still be credited on that project.
Sure.
I'll give you an example, and one you may recognize. Steve Denuser. In Dragonflight, he was lead narrative designer. In the credits, he is right there with the other leads. But then he left Blizzard in November 2023, midway through the War Within. Of course, it was literally his job to build it, and as we've told you in other videos, the likes of the Harrenir do appear to be his baby.
Oh,
Blizzard
so he's to blame.
respect that, so his name is, as it should be, in the credits of this expansion.
Oh.
But he wasn't
He's under additional leadership now.
lead narrative designer at the time, so instead he has been credited as, quote, additional leadership. And because we know this, we can use it as code for left Blizzard. Now, he's been gone for over a full expansion.
It's
and
crazy
he is
breakdown
not
by
in
Bell.
the Midnight credits. And that gives us something to properly compare the War Within to Midnight. You may be wondering why. Here's why. It's because Blizzard seems to do the same with other roles. As an example, additional engineering. And here's what that actually means. The War Within has 20 engineers credited who left before launch. So in reality, that means that Midnight's engineering team is actually bigger than War Within's team whenever War Within shipped. In fact, the War Within
What?
absolutely had more total contributors than Midnight. But if we account for all the staff who left, Midnight ends up looking bigger. And here's the actual count. There were 100 people tagged as additional before, and now
Okay.
Midnight has only got 13. That basically means it seems a lot fewer people left in the middle
Okay,
of
got
development.
it.
And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
ask me,
Okay.
that's a promising enough looking sign.
Yeah, less attrition, less people dipping out, maybe less people getting fired.
Obviously, it's not completely fair to take those people out because they did do work in the game. What we can instead do, though, is split them up. So let's
It means more stability too, right? The same team continuing forward is a good thing. You don't, as much as like hiring is great, it also brings problems, right? You bring in somebody new and you got to train them up, you got to teach them the ways, and it kind of breaks the consistency of having like a really good team. Really good team that works together well, that knows each other, that understands how each person, what they're good at, what they're bad at. It goes to say the same with sports. Like a lot of times you look at the best teams out there, it's because they have a veteran group that's been together for a long time. So the same thing, you put out a good game, a lot of times it's because you have a veteran group that's been together and stable for a long time. So more stability in Midnight, that's a good thing.
our big number, total contributors.
Efficiency drops off
That
big
number
time. Oh yeah, with new hires and turnover and everything is horrible for efficiency.
being everyone who is credited. By that metric, Midnight does appear to be a bit smaller. But if we only look at still there at launch, it actually tells a bit of a different story.
That's good.
At launch, War Within had 753 people. Midnight had 798. So instead of being 5% smaller, like the raw figure tells us, it's actually 5% bigger. So there you go. Midnight's actual patch
5%
development
bigger.
team appears to be more stable, maybe happier
Bigger
to
is better.
continue with development. And that means that if we check back on our chart, we are now at the we're so back part, which is exciting. But we're not going to
Yeah,
be there
buddy.
forever, because this roller coaster has still got a few more loops.
The invisible labor.
Not every bit of work in the game is done by people in the credit list. In fact, certain people are responsible for much, much, much more work than a single person can do. You see, in the War Within, there were 10 people responsible for outsourcing. Yes, by the way, Blizzard uses external studios for World of Warcraft,
Yeah, it
like
happens.
everyone else in the games industry.
Yeah.
It is a
And in a lot of industries, it's like that. You outsource work that you're not highly, you're just not specialized in. So you go and you have some very hyper specialized group that's outsourced to do that thing that you're doing.
completely normal
That you
thing.
need done.
But they label it very specifically in their credits. Supervisors for character art, environment art, and UI art. And in Midnight, we see that that team has grown by 16. So 6 more supervisors means a lot more external work being done. You might be a bit spooked hearing that number, but I can at least say that so far, nothing in Midnight has
yeah.
seemed out of place.
The art looks like WoW art. I mean, this looks like it came out of the WoW development team. So if some of this was outsourced, I say that's fine. This looks good.
So it's worth keeping that in mind. The team itself isn't just bigger, it perhaps has more access to external resources as well. Or perhaps, if it's the same external resources, has more people managing that, which should help keep the quality bar up. But I said this was a roller coaster, and as good as this all sounds, there is a fairly worrying figure in the data.
Oh no. Revolving doors.
Okay, I know there's a stack of ideas in this video, so here's where we're at. We've learned that Midnight's total contributors is smaller. We know that Midnight's staff at launch figure is larger, and they might outsource more. All in all, it seems like we're in a really good spot. But obviously, people aren't just numbers. You need experienced, skilled people to make a good game.
True.
So, what we did is we compared names. Now, here's how we read it. If someone's name is new to Midnight, then they're marked as green. If someone is new in the War Within's credits, but not in Midnight, we've marked them as red. We also have total counts, and those are honestly a little bit scary looking.
So the reds are a problem because that means they were new for the War Within and then dipped before Midnight. So yeah, that's a quick turnover right there. Like that person joined and left in a pretty quick timeline.
Honestly, a little bit scary looking. You see, in Midnight, there's 149 new staff. That means that 18% of the people working on the game haven't worked on WoW before. And perhaps worse than that, there are almost 200 names in the War Within who are not there in Midnight.
Yeah,
I'll
that's a
caveat that this
lot.
wouldn't take into account, say, a name change from a marriage or something like that, but the number is 191. It seems to be 191 trained, experienced staff who worked on one expansion
Really?
now being lost. And I'm going to be honest with you, replacing 20% of your staff every
That's a lot.
18 to 24 months
Yeah.
seems like a complete nightmare.
It
I can
does.
see it working.
I mean, I've heard this about Blizzard before. I don't work in the games industry. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder, so I don't really know. But I've heard, like, in terms of salary, that Blizzard is, like, name recognition wise, an amazing resume builder. Like, wow, you worked at Blizzard, you worked on World of Warcraft. Like, a lot of people see that and they know it in the industry. Obviously, very popular game, very popular company to work for. But what they're not good at is paying a market rate salary for where they are. Like in Irvine, California, you're in fucking California. If you live in America, you know this. Maybe if you're outside of America, you don't. California's a completely fucking different world when it comes to salaries and cost of living. It's outrageous out there. So it seems like what it is Blizzard plays off of the fact that they are an amazing name, a big-time name, big-time company that makes big-time games, and they know people want to work for them because of that, but they don't have to pay them to work for them because of that. If you know what I'm saying. Like, they don't have to offer the best salary in the world to get people to apply for their jobs. But the problem is you do got to offer a really good salary to keep people at the job. And once people get that experience, they get that resume, they use kind of Blizzard, what it looks like as a stepping stone. After 2-3 years, they're like, all right, thanks, Blizzard. Now I can go get that really big, high-paying job because I got Blizzard Activision on my resume. Thank you very much. Peace out.
Perhaps in other industries.
That looks like what's happening.
But in a world where specific knowledge for a game, specific
$6
taste
a
and
gallon,
craft
Jesus.
for a game and its audience, well, those are so essential. Well, yeah, that does seem like a hell of a challenge. It doesn't seem healthy for the game. So if we take a look at the chart again, yeah,
it's like paying higher tuition to go to Yale on your resume. Yep, exactly. You're taking the cut for the
like,
for the
at
resume.
The end of the day,
build.
that's just a shitload of lost knowledge. But it's not the complete story, because that stuff is true, but it actually turns out this is less change than usual. Dragonflight actually had, get this, 453 new staff members who weren't in Shadowlands, and 186 people from
Well, to be fair, Shadowlands might have needed, that team needed a purge, let's be honest, so that one needed to go, but my god, that's a lot of new staff. How did they ever make a game? You got more people that are new than are returning.
Shadowlands who did not make it to Dragonflight. That whole era, to put it mildly, was turbulent. So, we now see the team is getting more stable.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's good. It looks like it's heading in the right direction, so that's a positive.
20% is still plenty of change, but actually, let me explain why I'm not overly worried just yet.
Also note the previous video where Bellular talked about solid leadership. Great leadership promotes higher retention. No doubt. No doubt. Great leadership. People love to work for a great leader. People will take a pay cut to work for a great leader. And I've experienced both. You can work and get paid really well, but your boss is a complete freaking piece of shit. You're going to be miserable as fuck. The money ain't worth it. You're going to get the fuck out of there. Vice versa, you're willing to hang on longer for that pay raise and that promotion if you really like your boss. If they really make you enjoy the job, it's easier to take maybe that little bit lesser pay for your sanity. Yeah, so definitely, I think Holly Longdale, she really does seem like a nice person to work for, and I think a lot of people do like her at Blizzard, and they're staying because of her.
Here, we color-coded the people who are new to Midnight and the people who left after the
Imagine working for Bobby Kotick. Oh my god. Fucking nightmare, probably.
War Within.
The
and
Goblin
if we scroll
himself.
down, something's really obvious. Of everyone tagged as a lead, there are only 10 lead roles from the War Within's launch who left. In Midnight, only 6 leads are new. And the vast majority of leadership are still there. That's people at the director level, like say Ian Hazacostas, and also at the team level, meaning lead artists, lead designers, lead engineers. So the people we need the most, the people who have the knowledge that needs to be passed on, do appear to be staying. And that should hopefully mean those are the people who learned from their mistakes during the War Within and should be able to make better calls for Midnight. You know, in theory. So, leadership are pretty much intact, but what about the rank and file? Well, going further down the designers, there are a handful of leavers here and there, but there's nothing shocking, just a few people churning out from each team. And for a game studio, that's a fairly normal thing. I mean, between the likes of Riot, poaching, and general hopping between studios, it's not an overly worrying pattern. And that means that the people who are making and designing content have had time to reflect, learn, and to make better stuff.
Right.
And I'd say that from our time on beta so far, they've generally done quite a good job. From classes to quests to delves and everything else, you can tell.
Well, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge. What's up, Kennel?
That they've improved.
Apply
In fact,
for ambassador?
It's the same story the whole way down. No team has been gutted, no key pillars of the game are gone, and where people have been left, they have largely been replaced. So, there you have it. The team who built Midnight and will build its patches is larger than before.
Yeah.
It appears to be more stable than before as well. Now, it is true that lots of people have left, but also lots of people have joined. But even with that, the vast majority of the team is intact and growing, and it appears their churn rate is down from the dark times of Shadowlands and of Dragonflight.
Yeah, I think these numbers definitely tell a positive story. This looks like things are heading in the right direction. It's kind of like working at a call center. Adrenaline says the job is completely blows, but the money's pretty great.
Now, maybe some of that is because the games industry is not completely flush of cash, and you don't have literally everyone having fun with 0% interest rates, forming new teams, doing all that stuff, and trying to poach the best and brightest from all the incumbent companies. So, they do have that in their favor. But still, things are looking fairly good. Blizzard are putting a lot of money into WoW's future, and I think this credits list is actually proof of that.
Yeah, I think these numbers tell a lot of stories. And they tell a lot of positive stories. I think one, it means the game's heading in the right direction because you got a lot of the same people doing the development on it. That stability means we're going to get content, hopefully, that's more stable. Also, I think it tells a really good story about leadership, as Banshee mentioned, where, you got Holly Longdale up there. And since she's been there, she seems like a really good person to work for. That leads to better retention. Seeing that high of a retention rate is a good thing. Man, the craziness... What was it, 53% of the turnover from into Dragonflight? From Shadowlands to Dragonflight? Clearly, leadership was fucked at that point, and a lot of people left. That's crazy. 53% of your team is new heading into Dragonflight. But to see it now drop to 18% new heading into Midnight, that's a positive for sure, and I think that means we're going to get a better game, hopefully. Interesting work here from Bellular, man. He put in a lot of work into this one. Nice video for sure.